What's up guys, Steven Dexter. Welcome to the new YouTube video. Things are a little bit different. Two technical stuff we're going to talk about. One is higher neutralized area. Another one will be microflow, late day breakdown. Those two factors, they're not considered as a pattern. But those two factors are extremely important when you want to short into stock or when you want to go buy into a stock. So let's get into this week's ticker first. So OPGN, this one was considered as a gap up short, but it's a microflow. The flow is actually under 1 million. Market cap is under 4 million. So the stock did a morning push. Most of the time when stock start lose its morning spike, it doesn't have a chance to come back, except microflow. Since it was a microflow, I did not trade on this ticker at all. But if I traded, I will probably short into the morning push and add into this panic and get squeezed again, take a loss and does a fake out and short it again, take a loss into the spike again. Don't ever try to use any patterns on gap up short, especially on the first screen day. Now another one is when the stock is consolidating. So when the microflow is consolidating for a couple hours, that means if there is a high demand, very little supply, the stock's supposed to go up since it's trading so much volume. If it's not going up and stuck at the same level, it means the stock is bearish because there's only limited amount of supply. Since there's so much demand, the stock's still not moving. That means the stock turns from bullish into bearish. In the afternoon, if you track statistics, most of the morning spike usually fail. On microflow, it's a little bit different. Same thing applies to microflow. If the stock decides to consolidate, the breakout in the afternoon, it's unlikely to break it through. You can see into this breakout, tracked a bunch of people buying the breakout and dumped all the way around $7. And people are looking to buy into breakouts for microflow. Sometimes buying into microflow, it depends on what timing are you buying into. If you buy into breakouts in the morning, of course, that's considered a good buying. If you're buying the microflow into morning breakout, if it doesn't really gap that high, then it's considered to be a good breakout buy. But if you know most of the breakouts in the afternoon do fail, then do not try to buy into this breakout because you are likely to get trapped. There are many examples like afternoon dump with microflow, because first, if the stock decides to do reverse split multiple times, and if you take a look at the historical chart, you can see pretty much stock is downtrending again and again and again and doing a reverse splits again and again and again. That means the stock is trying to take investors' money. The stock doesn't really spike with good intention. That means it's gonna be a very temporary spike and you have to be really careful with this type of microflow. I would say people with big positions that are manipulating in microflow, something like RKDA, OPGN, they're holding a large positions by themselves. If they decide to release those shares, then you're gonna be the backholders. And you're gonna be backholders for a long time because the stock rarely comes back up and you cannot exit your positions. So holding into these type of stocks does not give you good long-term returns. So people know that. That's why people really don't hold overnight. And you can see when the stock start reaching into by the end of the day, the stock dumps about 70-80% of its own gain. And that's why people doesn't want to hold overnight and risk of offering in the middle of the day. So if you're looking for a long pattern, do not buy into the afternoon breakout. If the stock decides to, let's say, consolidate in the pre-market, not very high, didn't really gap up that high. So let's assume the stock gaps about 20%, consolidate, then breakout. It's likely to work. But if it gaps up about, like, let's say 300%, 400%, it's really unlikely to spike again because the stock already gapped up so high, there's not much risk reward if you're trying to buy it again. If you're trading in the market, you want to find, okay, well, what's the maximum for these type of stocks spiking one day? For example, let's say first screen day on microflow, the maximum spiking percentage will be 300% or 400%. But if the stock already up 400% in the pre-market, it's very unlikely for the stock to spike again. This is why tracking statistics should help you improve your trading performance. We have seen many of them, OPGN, CETX, those are two example charts. Always keep your risk really tight. If you're a beginner, I don't really suggest trading OPGN, CETX because there's gonna be high spread, extremely fast spike and panic. If you're not getting used to those type of exit and entry, then you will get emotional and start to have a really bad entry and exit. So this is one of the charts that happened on Friday in TGN. This ticker is a little bit different compared to others. The market cap is relatively high compared to what we trade regularly. Microflow is anywhere between 20 million to 100 million, but this is actually at the maximum. Float is a little bit too high. We typically trade anywhere between 3 to 20 million. This is 27 million. So the stock is pretty much at the maximum market cap and flow range. For these type of tickers, you have to be really careful because if it doesn't really meet any patterns, the stock does weird actions. A lot of people just look at this as gap up short. If the stock gaps up, if it doesn't really gap up that high, it does not consider as a gap up short. The stock has to be over, let's say, hundreds of percent compared to the stock is only up 30%, and people are shorting random spikes. That's why it causes all types of squeeze. If there's no large gap up, that means shorting spike doesn't have really good risk reward. Since the market cap and the flow is out of the range that we typically trade, then you won't have that much statistics on it. That's where you're likely to take a loss. So NTGN, this type of ticker, always wait for a key move. I think it made a key move right here. It went from 4.03 to 3.7. It did a large panic, but the stock wasn't even up that much. So really not try to short on NTGN. Not that much risk reward. So MBOT, we've seen a lot of low volume and spiking tickers going off lately, and MBOT is one of them. There's many tickers like that. If the stock's trading under 1 million or trading 4 million or under, that's considered not a tradable ticker. If the stock did a really low volume and tends to spike about 50% or 70%, then we call that a neutralized level. The volume is so low you cannot either enter, the spread is huge. Secondly, there's not that many people trading. You're gonna wait for a long time for a panic, or the stock won't even panic at all. Do not trade into this type of neutralized area if the stock does not create enough range. For MBOT, you can see that there's resistance in the $16, $14 area, but you do not see any volume is being traded in that current day. So the stock has to reach minimum volume for you to be able to place any type of trades into these type of tickers, especially on low flow. If it's trading really low volume and on low flow, one candle or 20K volume can jump the price about $1 or $2. If you size in into this type of ticker, then there's gonna be 2 seconds, you're gonna be down a lot of money. So range and volume needs to be existed at the same time, and make sure those two has to be sufficient enough. After it fits those two criteria, then decide to make a trade. There's a lot of ticker going on in August and September. I see a lot of people feeling FOMO and start over trade. But for these type of tickers, make sure to stay away because you don't want to get stuck and take a loss eventually. So overall, it's a pretty boring week, and hopefully learn something. You shouldn't be trading because there's no actual statistics on it. You're trading the market with odds. You're not trading with full gamble. So that'll be the end of the video. Thank you very much. If you're interested into more content of all the patterns that I created, click the link below. I'll see you guys next time.